Beautiful people, welcome back to our channel and thank you so much for joining the channel today. Guys, if this is your first time here, please do not forget to subscribe. Today's video, I want to bring you some information that you need to move abroad in 2024. Now, someone reached out to me a few days back and said, Milton, I'm actually confused because the money for Canada is outrageous. The country has increased the money and we were thinking of moving as a family. Now they are saying that we cannot move and my spouse cannot get a postgraduate, or how do they call it, spouse's visa or a working document. You understand, because of what? I got admissions in a college. So this is actually what the person said. I cannot put it word for word here, but she was actually worried because Canada has passed a law which means that if you want to migrate to Canada and you want to take your family, note that they are not going to get what they call spouse's open work permit. So she was wondering where she can now move. Now, guys, let me first of all take you back to listen. These are the changes in Canada. The first one is that if you are moving with your spouse and you intend to get spouse's work permit, because for some people it is advantage that their spouse should come with them so that while they go to school their spouse can work. But now you cannot apply to a college and you get the spouse's open work permit for your spouse. You must apply only for university, for masters or PhD. Those of you who are asking for postgraduate, it doesn't work. It must be masters or PhD. So then another change with Canada is there are going to be a reduction in student visas from I don't know how many thousand, but they said they are going to be taking 360,000 people, that is students. That is a total, like a big reduction from 2023. Then the other change now is if you have already gotten your admissions, you can't even apply for the visa. You have to wait till the 31st of March. Then again, a province like British Columbia is saying that new colleges cannot accept international students. Okay, so my advice is if you got admissions to study in British Columbia, any college in British Columbia, this is a red flag. You better change your plan now or you look for something else, because they are now trying to say that the population in British Columbia is much. That's why they are restricting international students, and the population in Canada is much. That's why they are reducing the number of study visas. So now you have to be strategic. First, am I moving alone? Secondly, would this attestation comes at last from the 31st? In fact, that's April. Would they come? And if they come, will I apply? And if I apply, do I stand a chance? And when will it be approved? All these things you need to look at money and put them into consideration, guys. Now, because of this question this person asked, I decided to put in a list of other countries in Europe that you can immigrate to. These are countries that if you move yourself as a family, you can always make little money. Most of us, we are migrating because where we are, we cannot make the amount of money we need to maybe sustain ourselves. We are looking for better opportunities, and it is not about just traveling out. It is about, because you are leaving a place because you have financial issues, probably where you are not getting what you actually deserve, and you are looking for better standards. Therefore, go to a place that will give you the standard, if not what you are looking for, but what is better than the place you are currently in. I hope you understand. That is to say, you are going to a place, from where you are, you should be going to somewhere better. Not like you just move from one country, you go to any other country. No. So there are some countries abroad in Europe that you can move to with your family. I'm going to be telling you some of the things that you need to know in these countries and if admissions is open for you to apply. The very first one I will start with is the United States of America. You can move to the US with a student visa with your spouse, with your family, but note that your spouse will not work. So in this case, the US is not feasible enough, because there is no need moving with your spouse where your spouse cannot work. But there are certain advantages that your spouse will equally get moving with you. But if you ask me, should I move with my spouse if you as a family, you have made a decision on this, I will advise you go alone, then you figure a way out for your spouse to join later. But if you want to move with your family, that is excellent. You guys can move together, it is no problem. But note that with the US, your spouse cannot work. The next country is the Netherlands. The Netherlands is another country where your spouse's visas will be processed, but in most cases the embassy will want you to move first before you apply from the Netherlands for your spouse to join you. So you can see that it is still not very feasible when it comes to the Netherlands. Let's go to the next country, Finland. Finland will allow you move with your spouse, and Finland will equally allow your spouse to work full time. So Finland, of course, is one of the countries you can look at. Of course, Finland is going to be better than Cameroon, Nigeria. If you get a good job that will pay you better, of course, the jobs will always be there if you are hardworking. So I would suggest you take a look at Finland, and also do not forget that there are money, like you need to put money into consideration. There is a certain amount of money you need in order to migrate to Finland with your spouse, with your kids. All of you can move. And do not forget the issue I raised some months back about proof of funds, the documents you need to supply to apply for a spouse's visa to Finland. The embassy is in Nigeria for Cameroonians now. This is why I'm explaining, telling you where it is. Remember that Finland, the healthcare there is somehow feasible. If you are moving with family, some of your kids or your children will have free medical facilities, or let me say free medical access. That's the healthcare is going to favor them. And of course, you as the international student, you are going to be working 30 hours a week, while your spouse will work full time. So this is for Finland. Finland is another one. Then another country is Austria. You can equally move to Austria with your family, but remember that when it comes to proof of funds, you have to document and show a lot of money. Currently, for an adult who is already 24 years of age, you need to show at least 13,000 euros if you are moving alone. But if you are going as a couple to Austria, you need to show at least 21,000 euros. You understand? So this is the standard, or let me say this is the standard put in place by the immigration officials for Austria. And you cannot migrate to Austria without legalization done. Yeah, so you can struggle and get admissions to study in Austrian universities, maybe state or private, but if you do not legalize your documents, it is going to be impossible. So start with the process of verification and legalization before you proceed to visa. Then another thing I want to draw your attention to is admissions is currently open in some schools in Austria. Admissions is equally not open as I speak. Some schools, or let me say in schools in Finland, because you remember Finland has just one application cycle, which is the joint application, but that doesn't mean that all admissions is closed. Some universities will be having their private admission intakes you get, so you can now apply, but the joint application is the best because it gives you access to apply to multiple programs. I hope you understand. Now Finland is not tuition free, but it is affordable. Austria is not tuition free, but it is almost free and very cheap. So you have to also look at this and look at their immigration pathway. At this other country, we call it Denmark. For you to study in Denmark, you have to also look at tuition fee. Danish universities, as I speak to you, are not open. Very few, I think just 2 or 3 are open now for September 2024 intake. But you have to also remember that Denmark has 2 intakes, the February-March intake and the September-October intake. So be ready to apply if you want to move to Denmark by January, February, let me say February-March 2025. Be ready to apply to many schools very soon. But for now, most of the admissions, like I told you, very few schools are open now, and they will be closing around March 1st. So you have to put this into consideration. To apply to Danish schools, you have to pay an application fee, and remember that to move to Denmark, it is not that complicated when it comes to documentation, but the tuition fee is quite expensive. You have to be ready financially, because when you gain admissions, you'll be asked to pay at least 6,000 euros upwards in order to secure your position to study in a Danish university. Most of the schools, like the University of Aalborg, the University of Aarhus, Roskilde University, University of Southern Denmark, and of course University of Copenhagen, there are a lot of them in Denmark. They are almost closed. So please do quickly and apply apply for a program, and remember, it is competitive, so you should know that there is an application fee, of course, close to like 105 euros you equally need to pay for them to process your admissions, and submission of documents is strictly online. This is for Denmark, and remember, for Denmark you are going to move with your family, and of course you are going to get what they call the postgraduate work permit for 3 years. After you graduate from school, you are going to get 3 years postgraduate work permit in Denmark to look for a job, and you already know within 3 years there is a lot you can do. Denmark has a good minimum wage, and there are jobs opportunities in Denmark. Denmark is one of the countries in Europe with a lot of companies, so you have to put this into consideration. Remember, one of the things you should also put into consideration before you migrate to Denmark is free medical care. Your children will have free dental care from 0 to 18 years, and of course you are equally going to have free medical care for everybody if you already have a residence permit in Denmark. So these are some of the opportunities you should consider. I'm equally going to talk about some other details you need to know very soon about Denmark, but for now let's go to the next country. The next country I want to talk about is Sweden. I have a lot of videos on my YouTube channel talking about Sweden. For those who don't know or who are new, you can migrate to Sweden with your spouse at the same time, but remember, Sweden is not that cheap. You have to pay tuition deposit before visa application, and for you to sponsor yourself in Sweden, you need to have some money in your personal bank account. A sponsor cannot sponsor you for Sweden. The money must be in your own personal account. So please put all of this into consideration. Like I said, admissions currently is closed in Sweden. The next intake will start June. Is it around May or June? So please put all of this into consideration. Remember, when you are trying to move abroad, you are moving from a country because maybe the job opportunities are less, or maybe your living standard is low, or maybe you are not getting what you actually deserve. So you should be targeting a country that will pay you more, and you can be able to make money to help yourself. I hope you understand. The next country I want to talk about is Portugal. There are a lot of universities in Portugal, like Porto, Algarve, Sporting Lisbon, and a whole lot of them. Minho. But one thing you should know is that Portugal does not have a lot of school. Like, most of the programs are not taught in English, like especially the undergraduate programs. So if you are moving to Portugal, then you should know that Portugal welcome immigrants. Of course, your spouse can work in Portugal. You can move with your family at once. And also, if you buy properties in Portugal, it pushes you closer to citizenship. And of course, one thing I want you to know is that appointment is also a very big issue when it comes to the Portuguese embassy. And remember, you cannot migrate to Portugal without legalization. You cannot migrate to Austria without legalization. You may not be able to migrate to maybe Finland. Finland, I think you do not need a lot of documents to legalize except your marriage certificate and some few documents. Then for US, Netherlands, Austria, Denmark, you can move without this legalization done. So this is how you should do. Canada is now behaving funny, so do not rely on Canada alone. Try to also consider some of these countries and see which one you can apply in order not to put your eggs in the same basket. I hope this video helps you. Till we meet again in another one.